How's it going, everyone? My name is George, and here is my review on the latest Sony Marvel movie Venom, Let There Be Carnage, directed by Andy Serkis this time. And once again, starring Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, aka Venom. And this time he's facing off against Cletus Cassidy, a serial killer, who also becomes the symbiote Carnage, played by Woody Harrelson. So, when it comes to the 2018 Venom film, it was okay. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it on a free trial streaming service later on, and it was okay, but wasn't really anything special. Like Tom Hardy was great. He's always great. He's one of the best actors out there, in my opinion. One of my personal favorites. And the dynamic between him and Venom was great, but it just felt very slow. When Venom wasn't on screen, it was kind of boring. And it kind of felt like at the time Sony was kind of cashing it in because they've been wanting to do a Venom film since Spider-Man 3 came out back in 2007. The Venom film was supposed to tie into the Amazing Spider-Man universe, but when that got canceled, they decided to have Venom launch the Sony's own Marvel universe. But with this film, I was excited for it because there was a new director. Woody Harrelson was playing Carnage, the first on-screen appearance of Carnage, and it kind of takes me back to 2008, 2009 when people were making fake Spider-Man 4 trailers saying Carnage was going to be the main villain, and I think Woody Harrelson is the perfect casting choice for Cletus Cassidy, Carnage. So I was very excited, but also wanted to watch my expectations with this film. And all in all, I like this film a lot more. This is a much, much better film than the 2018 film. This is a lot more entertaining, better paced, better action, and just an overall better movie. I think out of the three films that we've gotten Venom in, Spider Man 3 from 2007, Venom, and Venom Let There Be Carnage, this is probably my favorite film with Venom in it. Tom Hardy's once again great as Eddie Brock. He's made for this character. He's a lot better than Topher Grace. And I like Topher Grace. I don't want to dunk on him, but he should not have played A. Brock and Venom in Spider Man 3. That's the guy you get to replace Tobey Maguire if Tobey Maguire doesn't return for Spider Man 3. But back to Tom Hardy. He was excellent in this role. And as I previously said, he's one of my favorite actors. This is a great, great actor. And he even got story credit for this film. So he's clearly very passionate about this role. He's very passionate about this franchise. And he clearly wants to do more of these films or at least continue playing this character. And Woody Harrelson was also great as Cletus Cassidy, who would later become Carnage. And really, the first and the third acts of this film were the strong points of this film. The first act, minor spoiler alert, but the first film's more of a Cletus Cassidy versus Eddie Brock kind of dynamic where Eddie Brock's questioning him in the jail. Cletus Cassidy's like messing around with him. I really like how these are two great actors, how these two actors play off one another. And then obviously the third act where you got that final battle, that great symbiote battle between Venom and Carnage. As a fan of Spider-Man the Animated Series, especially the Venom Carnage arc, the Spider-Man PS1 game that had Venom and Carnage, and also who kind of got into the Spider-Man comic book lore with the symbiotes in the 80s and the 90s, Venom and Carnage, I was not disappointed. Carnage looked great. It was great seeing him on screen. I know there's going to be some people who are disappointed that it's not rated R, that's rated PG-13, but here's the reality, and I even remember this when people were making those rumors about Carnage being in a Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4 years ago. Even if, let's say, Carnage was in a Spider-Man film, or in this case, a Venom film, they're probably still going to make it PG-13 because they want kids to go see this movie. They want kids to go see these movies. So, like, maybe one day we'll get a rated R film with a rated R Carnage in it, like, in the future. Who knows? But still, this reminded me of the Wolverine in the sense that the Wolverine is another comic book movie that probably could have been rated R, but it was a PG-13 comic book movie that utilized the PG-13 rating to the fullest. Like, it went right to that border of PG-13 and rated R. And I think Venom Let There Be Carnage did the same thing. So even though it was PG-13, they really went to that border. So it was great to see. The second act for me is when the film kind of started to slow down. For the most part, it's a fast paced movie, it's quicker paced. And the second act is where it kind of slowed down for me. To me, the best thing about the second act, again, minor spoiler, fair warning, is when Carnage is causing havoc. Like, that stuff's cool to see, especially as someone who grew up seeing Carnage on Spider-Man the Animated Series and the PS1 game back in 2000. Just seeing Carnage causing havoc, like, that was pretty cool. But then the arc between Eddie and Venom in the second act, it kind of, like, it feels like this was something that should have been done with in the first film, and they kind of continued it into this film, and it just wasn't needed. I'm not saying have like Venom fight Carnage a whole bunch in the second act, but maybe give Venom something more to do and Eddie Brock more to do as well. Like, I just feel like they should have changed that arc with those characters, with their on and off. It just feels like something that should have been settled earlier on. But having said that, even though the second act does slow down, I wasn't huge on that part of the second act. I was still entertained by the Carnage stuff. There's also the character of Shriek in this film, played by Naomi Harris, and she was alright. Like, I know she's key in the Maximum Carnage story arc in the comics, but she's never really been like a big character. But she was very key to Cletus Cassidy Carnage's arc, so that was cool to see. And really, like, this is a 90-minute movie. It's quick paced, but I feel like they covered a lot of ground with this. They covered Carnage's, Cletus Cassidy's backstory, what's been going on in Eddie's life, his, like, how he feels about Anne getting engaged, who's still played by Michelle Williams. Basically, like, everything's covered. There's obviously this banter between him and this detective. This detective does not trust Eddie Brock, and like Eddie doesn't trust him, so they cover that pretty well. And that detective's connection to this case with Carnage and Shriek. So really, they cover a lot in a short amount of time. This is one of the shortest comic book movies, and they really covered a lot in this film. And all in all, like, this film isn't going for obviously the Dark Knight trilogy or Spider-Man 2, Logan, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Infinity War. It's not going to be one of the best comic book movies ever, but to be a fun, not nonsense comic book film, and it really does a great job with that. And ultimately, if you love the first Venom film, you're gonna love this film. I think it's gonna win some fans over. It won me over personally, so I was really pleasantly surprised with this film. I enjoyed it a lot. It's not gonna win everyone over though, but all in all, I had a great time with this film. And I'm not gonna talk about the mid credit scene just yet. I'll make a separate video next week about that because it is a big spoiler. But all I can say is that was basically mind blowing, game changing, one of the best mid credit scenes ever, and it really makes me excited for the future of this character. But yeah, all in all, this was a fun film. This was a pleasant surprise for me. It kind of reminded me also of it, not just the Wolverine, but also the first two Blade films. It reminded me of that, a underrated comic book movie that understands what it really is and it does that job well. And as far as some of the other comic book movies that came out this year, Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Suicide Squad, and Shang-Chi are a lot better than this film. Those are great movies. I would rank this slightly above Black Widow. Maybe Yeah, I would only because I like Black Widow a lot as well, but the villains were a little better in this film. Not a little bit better, much better. At least Carnage was a lot better than Taskmaster was in Black Widow. Although I do like Black Widow, and I'll give it the same grade I gave Black Widow. I'm gonna give Venom Let There Be Carnage a B plus. Stellar action, stellar characters, great performances, and yeah, I had a great time with this film. And it's just one of those movies that don't put too much into it. Don't nitpick it. What it's meant to do, it does well. And as long as it's doing that job well, it's a solid movie. And as I said earlier in this video, probably the best movie that has Venom in it so far. At least in my opinion. My favorite, at least. It's definitely my favorite. But what'd you guys think about Venom Let There Be Carnage? Have you seen it yet? Do you think it's better than the first film? Do you think it's worse than the first film? I think there's a few people that said they prefer the first film over this one. But for the most part, it seems like everyone's preferring this one over the first one. But what you guys think? Comment below and let me know. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please share this with someone that likes Venom, that likes Marvel, Spider-Man related movies. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.